Okay, nau mai, haere mai. Welcome to this meeting of Komiti Hanganga, the Infrastructure and Regulatory Committee for 3rd of July 2025. Emergency procedures are up there on the screen in case you're unfamiliar with them. Essentially just follow the instructions of staff. This is a very, very earthquake safe building. I'd invite everyone to join me in Kaunihera timatanga. No mai haere, sorry. Let's go. Whakataka te hau ki te uru, whakataka te hau ki te tonga, kia mā kina kina ki uta, kia mā taratara ki tai. Ihi ake ana ti a tākura, he tio, he huka, he hauhu, ti hei mauri ora. Thank you. I've got apologies from Councillor Barrett. I was about to say Councillor Stellinger, late arrival, but here he is, come through the rain on time. Thank you, Councillor. So I move the apology from Councillor Barrett be accepted. Could I have a seconder, please? Deputy Mayor Lewis, thank you. All those in favour say aye. Against, declare that carried. We have one member of the public who'd like to address us today, Richard Warwick, who's representing a group of residents in Riddler's Crescent or in that vicinity. And he's speaking to item 9, regulatory matters, and it's to do with Kmart. Welcome, Richard. If you come up to this table here, and on the right of that little device in front of you, there's a button that you need to push. It's going to light up green so that everyone online can also hear you. Basically, you've got 3 minutes to tell us your concerns or read the statement that you've got there, and there may well be some questions from councillors. So to you.
Thank you, Chair. I have a prepared statement here on behalf of a number of us residents in Riddler's Crescent. So good afternoon. My name is Richard Warwick and I'm here today as a representative on behalf of the homeowners and residents of numbers 3, 7, 9, 11 and 13 Riddler's Crescent Petone. We are direct neighbours to Kmart who operate from the rear boundary of our homes. We are affected by its operations, so every decision and change in relation to Kmart's operation has a real impact on our daily lives. Since Kmart's granting of a resource consent in 2015 and since its opening in 2017, we have contended with ongoing issues stemming from the developments next to our homes. Currently, we have been and are working closely with Kmart and Hutt City Council to agree on a way forward after significant and ongoing breaches of the original resource consent as mentioned since the store's opening in 2017. We do want to acknowledge that recently there have been improvements made to the ongoing breaches and there has been progress working through to getting these improvements in writing so that we can hold Kmart to account for their commitments. We also appreciate the recent efforts of Kmart in regard to our affected group to, in their words, act neighbourly in all that they do, and we encourage this to continue. Back in 2015, we took part in the process and expected to be fully consulted about any variations to the consent we signed off on at that time. Yet to our dismay, we only learned about the recent application for changes through the media rather than directly from those responsible. Now we have received word that the variations extend the building has already been agreed upon by Hutt City Council, again without meaningful consultation with those most affected. It's turned out that the granting of the second resource consent was done recently, as listed on page 85 of the Infrastructure and Regulatory Report paper you have before you. Also on page 85, it shows that Kmart was recently issued with an abatement notice by Council for the ongoing breaches of the original resource consent and to ensure those conditions are met. The abatement still stands, although we believe is being challenged. We are disappointed not only with the process, but particularly with the standard of communication from the council officers and Penrith Holdings as the property owner and applicant for the consent variation throughout. As neighbours whose daily lives are directly shaped by these developments, we call for openness, respect and genuine engagement moving forward. Our appeal today is that our community deserves to be heard and included in decisions that shape the place we live and call home. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Warwick. Councillors, do anyone have questions for Mr. Warwick? Deputy Mayor Lewis.
Thank you, Richard, for coming in. What was your understanding of your engagement with council in this whole process?
Are you referring to from the beginning? So right at the beginning, there were a couple of meetings because it appeared to be the process was going to go through as a non-notifiable consent. But because of the situation of our homes to the boundary, there was some discussion and some negotiation in relation to some conditions that Kmart would have to adhere to in relation to the number of delivery vehicles, in relation to the times that those vehicles could be on site, in relation to a security gate and the operation of that. And literally, right from the beginning, those issues weren't adhered to. I mean, I counted on my own personal email over 60 emails to council in relation to breaches of the resource consent around, again, the number of vehicles and the times that those vehicles were allowed to be on site. So that was the beginning of it. Subsequently then, we have had a meeting with council in relation to that. Our concerns, because as I say, we heard only through the media that there was an application for an extension, and we felt that the issues that we were dealing with were only going to be exacerbated should that be granted and a bigger store actually go ahead. So that's been also another concern. More recently, we have seen some action, and as I say, due to the fact I think we continue to provide evidence of those breaches, continue to communicate those breaches, we believe that was a trigger for the abatement notice to be issued to them to comply.
Any further questions, councillors? Mayor Barry.
I think you may have answered my question, Richard, with your comments just before. I suppose, just to understand, your concern is more so that, hey, an extension of the building might exacerbate the issues that already exist. Is that your concern? And I suppose, second to that, if they were to be following the conditions that are in place with the extension or without, would you be comfortable with how things are? Like, would this, if they were following what they should have been doing, would this even be an issue with the extension?
That would not be an issue. The issue isn't about Kmart operating there. The issue isn't about them as a business or its situation. It's not an ideal for us. There's an irony for me that Riddler's Crescent sits in the district plan as a street of significant historical significance that has a Kmart over the back fence. That's fine. Our only issue is that we agreed to the compliance and these conditions put in place. The conditions weren't met. If they operate by the conditions, no problem. It's been part of an ongoing meeting that council mediated as well, talking with them. We understand that some of those current conditions don't meet their business model. That's not our fault. If those conditions can be met and enforced, and we don't have to act as enforcement officers or communicate constantly to council what is going on, and they can comply with those, that's fine.
That seems very reasonable too. Thank you, Mr. Warwick, for raising or bringing these matters to our attention. We'll ask officers perhaps to comment on that later in the meeting when we get to that regulatory report, or if they're not in position to comment immediately, we'll certainly ask them to come back to the next INR meeting with some full details.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thanks for coming in. Okay, councillors, does anyone wish to make a conflict of interest declaration on any matter in this report? today? No? Okay. Then we're moving to page 9 of the agenda to discuss the city centre framework. And I'd invite Bethany Gale, our urban design lead, and Eddie Anand, head of city delivery, to give us any further information you'd like us to be aware of on this report.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of the report is to seek endorsement of the City Centre framework, which provides an up-to-date foundation of the streetscape project under Te Wai Takamori o Te Awa Kairangi programme. We are taking the report as read and are happy to answer any questions.
So, councillors, we've had several looks at this in workshops and things, but feel free. Are there any more questions for either officer? Councillor Mitchell.
Yeah, I do have some smaller suggested changes here, very basic ones. So I'll email those through after rather than addressing them now. There was just one thing that, I'm just trying to find it in my notes here, stuck out as a bit of a disjoint, and it was to do with the Riverside Park. Oh yeah, here we go, on page 31 of our agendas today. It talks about how the flood protection works involve the removal of vegetation in the river corridor between the stop banks, and in the same section talks about the development of a new park. And there's a photo on the following page, certainly suggesting there will be vegetation between the stop banks. I'm not sure where the answer lies, but I just wanted to point out to you, it feels a bit kind of self-contradictory there. That's the first two bullet points under what our priorities are, say quite different things, and then the picture kind of as well. So I'll just leave that with you guys to tidy it up there, but it didn't seem to quite make sense.
Yep, we're happy to amend that. Thanks.
Councillor Dyer.
Yeah, thank you. I know this has been raised up through the workshops a couple of times. I like to think my Te Reo is above the average of our city, and I'm struggling with some of these pages just with not having the English translation straight after them. I know we've added the glossary, which is great, but particularly the use of Te Awa Kairangi ki tai is sort of interchanged a bit throughout the paper. The pages I probably had the most issues with was page 6, which was the cultural foundations. Obviously, you expect a lot of Te Reo to be used on this page, but just having the translations there where the Te Reo is being used would be very useful. And again, on the values page, there's a few words in there I had to look up. They're not in the glossary. So having those translations, I think, would be really useful, just so that people can read this and expand their vocabulary along the way. But other than that, was very happy with it. Thank you.
Yep, we're happy to add that. Thank you.
So those sorts of tweaks that Councillor Dyer has raised don't need specific recommendation or anything. You're happy to be able to make. Thank you. Okay, if there's no further questions, I'll put those recommendations that we receive and note this report, that we approve the adoption of the City Centre Framework attached as Appendix 1, and we approve the revocation of the 2019 Central City Transformation Plan and its replacement with this framework. Looking for a sec, Councillor Dyer.
Second, I'll say one second question if I can jump it in, but I'm happy to second it so you don't have to repeat the recommendations.
Second it and jump in with your question. Go.
Cool. Yeah, it was page 41 where it talks about the High Street Quarter. I'm assuming this is talking about generally that High Street area, not the development that's already there. It's called High Street Quarter. Just wondering, for the sake of clarity, maybe giving this page a different title, because I initially thought it was talking about High Street Quarter, but it's not. It's talking about just generally that area. So just tweaking that wording would be really useful. But yes, happy to second.
Good. Councillors, any comment? Oh, I'd like to comment that a lot of work has obviously gone into this plan, and it's very exciting how our central city could be looking as we get on with Riverlink and into the future. We're all concerned about budgetary matters, and I am given some comfort with paragraph 26 that notes the framework is a long-term strategy and does not commit council to fund any specific project. But we have budgeted for many of these items, and hopefully as we get to them, we can go ahead with them. But we have that backstop to be able to recall. So moved and seconded, Councillor Dyer.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this framework. I think what I'm most excited about is when we did this in 2019, it was a very nice aspirational piece looking to the future with very little funding associated to it, which council's obviously traditionally pretty good at putting out policies and frameworks without actually the budget there. This has kind of almost been flipped the other way, where we've got the budget in the long-term plan, we've got the budget through Riverlink. It's kind of pulling it all together in one place, and we know we're actually going to be able to deliver on these things. So I think it's a really good document. It's not just aspirational thinking, it's what's actually going to happen over the next 5 years as we reshape our CBD. So thank you for your work.
Councillor Stellinger.
It's just a brief comment that I particularly appreciated Appendix 4, which gives a summary of the initiatives and whether they're funded or not. And I would like to hope that a similar type of thing could be incorporated in other strategies and action plans we have. Over the years, it's been a criticism, we develop a plan and it sits on the shelf, but just having that clarity, what we've already funded and what's yet to be debated in the future, there is, I think, an excellent improvement.
Well said. Deputy Mayor Lewis.
I'd like to second that comment by Councillor Stellinger for all the years that go in, as I mentioned the last time we raised this. And, communities have input to a whole lot of strategies and given their time for free to council to formulate their desire for a city. And reality was we had no budget, but we sucked everybody dry of all their information, and then now we've revoked it. But all good. We've got budget now for this project, and we have a vision, and that vision is Riverlink. So everything's working toward that, and I think it's really great. So well done.
All right, I put those recommendations. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Declare that carried. Thank you both. Okay, we're now on page 56 with a request to delegate authority for issuance of warrants. And Justin Roberts, Head of Environmental Protection, is going to come to the table. And Justin, we've read the report. Is there any additional information you wish to put in front of us?
No, it is. It can be taken as read.
Does seem reasonably straightforward and sensible. Councillors, any questions for Justin? Okay, I recommend that we receive and note the information in this report, notes the operational and legal risks associated with the current process, and authorises delegation of power to the Chief Executive to issue warrants to enforcement officers. Seconder, please. Councillor Stellinger, comment? Put those recommendations, all those in favour, please say aye. Against? Declare that carried. Okay, we have some proposed public and private street name changes in the Taitā Drive Avalon area. Paul from Head of Transport is coming to the table. Paul, we've got the report. Anything additional you want to tell us?
Kia ora, thank you, Chair. I'd just note that the proposed street names were fed back to the requesters in late March of this year, so they had been forewarned of the proposed names.
Excellent. Questions, councillors? Councillor Mitchell.
Not really a question, but maybe a request. I like the names and I like the theme of the names and their relevance to this particular area and development. So I just wondered, I'm not going to suggest that council put up any signs, but maybe we could suggest to the developer that they could help people understand the stories and meanings behind these names. Would be quite good for that little new community, I think. Thank you.
Okay. Any further? Councillor Dyer?
You mentioned these have gone to the developer. Are they happy with what's been proposed, or have you got feedback from them?
We went back to them initially in March, and a little while later, I can't remember what month, and we didn't receive any feedback from them.
Okay. Well, the recommendations are in front of you that we approve these new street names, all of them with the prefix Te Ara O, which I think means the path of, and so that the new names are to be Kaunihera, Kōpiha, Temo and Ketu, all associated with Mototaua pā and cultivation in that area. So I'll move that series of recommendations 1 through 5. Could I have a Councillor Mitchell comment, councillors? Easy. I wish some of our other street naming things were to go so smoothly. The process has worked. So I'll put the recommendations. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Declare that carried. Thank you. Now, Paul's staying there, I think, because we have a proposed temporary road closure to do with the grand opening of the BAPS Swaminarayan Mandir and the community centre. Page 68 of your agenda. Got the report, Paul? Anything else to tell us?
Thank you, Chair. I think the only point to note is the organisers had sought to have an additional period made available should the weather or whatnot not be suitable during the proposed time. We felt that that was too difficult to proceed with just through being able to notify the public of the potential disruptions on a road such as Cambridge Terrace. So the proposal is just for the 12:30 to 6 p.m. time period.
Questions, councillors? Councillor Mitchell.
Yeah, thank you. As you mentioned, the parade's down Cambridge Terrace. I was wondering why it was felt the need to also close a bunch of side streets off the side of Cambridge Terrace.
The purpose of having those closures at that point is they would essentially be access only there. So residents and so forth could access properties, but in terms of diverting traffic around through Cambridge Terrace, we wouldn't want people to be going on the diversion, coming down one of the side roads and then trying to cut back in, only to hit basically a dead end along the parade route.
Thank you. And if I could just seek clarification about what's been asked of us today. The way it reads through the recommendations is that from 12:30 till 6 p.m, those roads will be closed and any vehicles parked on those roads will be deemed illegally parked. Is that correct, from 12:30 till 6?
That is correct. That would enable any cars that have been parked, particularly on Cambridge Terrace, to be removed ahead of the parade.
And it also means that any residents of those, even side streets, can't park on the street during those hours.
That would be correct, yes.
And is the consultation letter that was included, is that the only letter that's gone to those residents?
I believe that is the only letter that's gone to the residents, in addition to consultation with Waterloo School and Metlink, who were directly spoken to.
Thank you. I was just concerned about that letter that has gone out because the story it tells is very different from what you just confirmed for us, that these roads will be closed from 12:30 till 6 and any cars parked on them will be deemed illegally parked. What the letter says is that there's going to be a parade down Cambridge Terrace, and while the overall event will run from 1:30 till 4, different times, a shorter time period, please note that you will not be continuously affected during the entire duration. Any temporary disruption will occur only while the procession is passing directly in front of your location. I'm a bit worried that our residents might have a very different understanding from what we're proposing to do today, and I wonder if we agree to this, and I'm not opposed to it, we should maybe do another letter drop making very clear to them what the circumstances are.
As a matter of course, an additional letter drop would be done closer to the time because this is just through the consultation period. The world keeps moving and things get forgotten, so additional letter drops would be done ahead of the event, and we can seek to clarify in those letters what's happening.
Thank you, and I think for future, just worth keeping in mind that that consultation letter didn't come from this council. You've got someone else there communicating a message and seemingly not communicating very clearly what the outcome would be. So I think I'd prefer for our council to take that responsibility and make it very clear and certain that what's in the letter is matching the recommendations that will come before the council. Thank you.
Any Councillor Stellinger?
Just wanted to clarify following Councillor Mitchell's question, because I remember a brief exchange during the draft agenda, Chair, and it was about the prospects of the roads being sequentially opened up as the parade moved down Cambridge Terrace to their final destination. Is that still which I assuming would be well before 6 p.m, is that still the intention? And I suppose it would be a matter for clarification in the communications as well.
Yes, that is still the intent, that once, as soon as we can open roads, they would be opened as the parade moves along.
Deputy Mayor Lewis?
Thank you. And just following on, the cars that are going to be removed, is it clear to the residents where they're going to be dropped off or parked? If they're parked in the causeway of the parade?
Potentially not at this point. Hopefully there won't be any cars that didn't need to be removed, but they would be taken to somewhere very nearby. And they can always, residents can always call the tow company and the likes, or City Council when they've been removed.
Okay, just a suggestion from my, operations with the Rotary Fair, that there's a notice put on the cars as well, or something has to go out to where an area they're going to be dropped, because you do get angst from the community, cars missing.
Sorry, yeah, through this, just to clarify, when we do a letter drop, we would include letter drops on cars at the same time.
Councillor Mitchell?
Thank you. And does the traffic management plan also include notification on the site in advance? I know on my street there's water renewals going on, and they put out cones saying, no parking Monday 9 to 5 or whatever. We'll be doing something similar. I think that this is a really big area and a very diverse community, including some quite large Kainga order housing along there. I just think we need to be as clear as possible to help people do the right thing.
I don't recall the specifics of the traffic management plan, but that is generally, when no parking is going to be implemented, that is standard practice, but I'll check that one. Thank you.
No further questions? Okay, I'll move the recommendations 1 through 3 on our papers. Second, Deputy
Can I
Mayor?
add an additional recommendation just in there? That,
Yeah.
could we have that the local ward councillor, Eastern Ward councillor, be engaged on the letter that will be sent out to residents? Because I share Councillor Mitchell's concerns, just given the size of this, and obviously being in a place where we've never had a parade before. I mean, it's absolutely fantastic this is going to happen, and we wouldn't want what will be a great celebration sullied by maybe incorrect or confusing information in this process. So maybe if we could just add that in, that obviously it's up to the officers of what that says, but Councillor Mitchell gets a chance to cite that and give any feedback before it's sent out. Happy with that, to do that?
Yep, I think that's a good idea. So it's an additional recommendation. Did I find a seconder for Deputy Mayor Lewis? Thank you. Any comment, councillors? Yeah, I'd just like to say I agree with the Mayor that this is quite an exciting occasion. That's possibly the most interesting looking building in the entire city, and I'm sure it will be an asset to Lower Hutt, and we want this celebration to be successful. And I'm sure our officers, with the help of Councillor Mitchell, who's a man for detail, that we can issue the necessary advice to residents for just this one afternoon. So with that, unless there is more comment, I'll put the recommendations. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, declare that carried. Thanks. We've got our Three Waters update now, page 74. Hamish Bell, advisor on water services, is going to, and Bruce is here as well, strategic advisor. Gentlemen, we have your report, we've read it. Have you got any additional detail for us?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, just a couple of things to update you on in the report. So paragraph 10, where we talk about the pipe renewals. So I got an update last week on how June went. And so as of 25th of June, 449 metres of pipe had been renewed in the month so far. So that took the total year-to-date figure to 9,355 metres, so ahead of the target for the year of 9,250 metres of pipe renewals. The Seaview Sludge Dry renewal work, so I can let you know that Wellington Water is in discussions with a preferred tenderer for that piece of work, and we're expecting more details on this to be announced later this month. On the local water done well transition, so yesterday we had a workshop involving about 30 people from across the council to kick off the process for our own council transition process with the new water entity starting up 1 July next year. So planning is well underway. We've established 6 work streams looking at various aspects of that transition. And so there's a big piece of work getting underway there. On the drainage investigation, so on just as an update to paragraph 43, the source of E. coli and the storm water outlets along the Waifatu stream hasn't been tracked yet. This has been made difficult by debris and wildlife in the area. And paragraph 45, the odour that was identified outside a stormwater outlet in Larry Bay, so that infiltration has been repaired. Have you taken any questions if you've got any?
Thanks, Hamish. Councillors, any questions? There was a question asked at the draft agenda meeting right during the period of the sludge being transferred to Silverstream landfill. It may just have been total coincidence. There was also some complaints on Facebook about smell. Were you able to find out whether those two things were related or just coincidence?
Look, I checked with Wellington Water if they had received any complaints related to that, and they hadn't. We haven't had any complaints about odour in Stokes Valley in relation to that trucking work. And yeah.
No, it was smell from the landfill. It might just have been coincidence. I mean, there are complaints, not regular, but there are complaints about smell from the landfill, and I just wondered whether it had been exacerbated by that sludge going in there.
Not that we're aware of.
And the only other question I had as I was reading that Western Hills main wastewater renewal project, very successful, glad to hear that the contingency wasn't needed. There was another bit of that wastewater main further north. There's a plan to deal with that going forward?
So as part of Riverlink, there's a piece that's further south of this piece that is being looked at, and there's discussions going on between the partner organisations about what that might look like. Going north, at this point in time, there hasn't been anything included in any plans. The assessments that were taken out at the time said that there was still some life in those pipes, and so we are talking, you know, maybe another 15 to 20 years worth of life, but it is still an issue that we will need to address sometime in the future.
Great. Okay, I'll move that the committee receives the report and notes the information, seconded by Councillor Stellinger. Any comment? Councillor Dyer.
Yeah, just really want to commend the team and hope we can relay it to the Wellington Water team around the Seaview wastewater treatment plant dryer when it was offline for 2 weeks. We know this has been a very contentious issue with the community, and I've seen firsthand the amount of work that's gone into planning for the shutdown period, and the fact we were able to get through it without any complaints about odour just really speaks volumes towards the work that was done to prevent this in the first place. So hopefully we can relay it to the team, and looking very positive for the second shutdown that's going to occur in the future. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Lewis.
Thank you. This is a good report. There's so many positives in here, especially around the water leaks and the private leaks that have been fixed by property owners, so it's fantastic. I was interested, just a follow-up question, the bulk water, the figures that we've, there's a decrease in usage, and I'm assuming it's reflected from the, the targeting of the water leaks as well. So just, are we promoting that anywhere, or is Wellington Water promoting the fact that we're on a win here? Because I think it's really good. It's costing us less money, surely.
It's not necessarily costing us less money, I'm sorry to say too, because the total cost of the bulk water is a pie that doesn't change a hell of a lot, and then that gets divvied up around the region depending on how much we use in relation to other councils. So we might use less, but if others are using less, it's all relative. Yeah, but there has been certainly some comms around this, and not so much at this time of the year while we're in the middle of the wet season, but certainly they'll ramp up again, and there's planning already in place to look at what we're doing to keep the foot on the pedal.
Who knows, it might even be highlighted by people over the next few months and lead up to a certain event in October, the progress we're making. Okay, I'll put that recommendation. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, declare that carried. We're on to regulatory matters now, page 82 of your agenda, and I'd invite Tim Johnson, Head of Planning, Richard Barton, Head of Building Control, and Justin Roberts back again for Head of Environmental Protection, to tell us if there's any other matters additional to the report, and perhaps also they might have something to say about the today's public comment.
Nothing additional to the report. Thank you, Chair.
Nothing from our side.
And I'm happy to make a quick comment on the Kmart conversation from Mr. Warwick. So just an update on the state of play, which is, I agree with Mr. Warwick, there has been ongoing compliance issues with Kmart in relation to their truck movements. Council has in the past issued infringement fines of $300, but very recently we, if you like, escalated the enforcement action and issued an abatement notice. Kmart have appealed that abatement notice to the Environment Court, so it is with the Environment Court at the moment. But alongside all of that, I think it's fair to say Kmart have been very, very upfront to say that the conditions of the consent are no longer fit for purpose in relation to truck movement, so they are actively trying to seek that, which will require a change of consent. We haven't got that change of consent at the moment. That is coming. A requirement of the Environment Court is that they will have to submit that change of application by a certain date before the end of July. So that will have to run its course through the process. What I would also say, though, is, as I said, the Kmart has been very upfront with the neighbours that they want to change these, and there has been some, what I would say, some quite good dialogue between Kmart and the neighbours, and the realisation that they need things to change and they need to work with the neighbours. So I think, simply speaking, there is proactive discussions going on between Kmart and the neighbours, and I know the Deputy Mayor was part of a meeting, so yeah, I'm happy to stand corrected if my perception is wrong. But essentially, the ability to change that consent, to change the vehicle numbers, will need to go through a new consenting process, and we're not there yet.
Thank you, Tim. And presumably Council needs to continue to enforce the existing consent conditions until the Environment Court hears that.
And correct. So since the abatement notice was issued, they are in compliance with the conditions, so that has had its effect. There has been a very occasional additional waste truck delivery. So, but in saying that, the waste truck is something that is difficult to manage because it's outside of Kmart's control. But even with that, there has been, Kmart are jumping on that, and there are discussions going with the neighbours when that happens. So the abatement notice is doing what it needs to do, which is bringing them into compliance.
And the other thing that struck me when Mr. Warwick was speaking was that the Riddlers people that he represents didn't know anything, or they said they didn't know anything about the Kmart extension application. What sort of notification was there of that project to?
Yep, so again, it was a non-notified application. Council went through the correct process to determine that it was non-notified. It was in the media, which is how obviously the community found out about it. In a perfect world, or what Council will always recommend, is that applicants consult with neighbours before they put in an application. That didn't happen in that case, but it's not unusual for people to apply for a resource consent and not to advise their neighbours. As I said, I think the relationship is a lot better now than when potentially that application was lodged. Up to Kmart whether they choose to tell the neighbours they're applying. They didn't in that situation.
Councillors, any further questions on this or anything else in the report? Councillor Stellinger.
Yes, I think Tim partially answered my question as I was formulating it, but I was interested in the notice, the extent of the variations they'll be looking for and how significant they might be to the neighbours. You indicated more truck movements was a part of it. How extensive are those changes likely to be?
So what they have indicated to us at the moment, they are limited to effectively 2 truck movements a day. one for deliveries and one for rubbish collection. They would like to extend that to up to 6 truck movements a day. That is not necessarily 6 every day, but they want to build in flexibility for different times of the year. So for instance, at Christmas time, truck movements will increase. So that's what they're seeking, an increase from 2 to 6 per day, but not necessarily 6 every day.
Just want to make sure I got that correct, because that seems extremely low. You mean 2 single trucks a day?
Correct. That's, okay. So that just to re-emphasise, that's when they applied for consent in 2015, that's what they told us that's what they needed through the course of time. Obviously, they've realised that they cannot continue to operate this Kmart store with that number of truck movements.
Councillor Dyer, then Deputy Mayor Lewis.
Thank you. Under the alcohol licensing, it says over June that there'll be 7 further visits which will achieve the 100%. Do those 7 occur in June, and do we hit 100%?
It is my understanding that they did, but I'll confirm and I'll get back to you on that.
Thank you. Thanks, Tim. So just, I don't want to go into the deliberation of the consent, but the 2 is just for Kmart itself. The issue is other truck companies.
Yes, so apologies. So there are 2 different uses on that site. There is I think it's a plumbing business. So Kmart takes up the majority of the site, and then there's a plumbing business on the corner. That's not covered by the resource consent. The resource consent only covers Kmart. So that use can continue as per, it's not actually covered by consent, it's a permitted use. So the truck movements that we're talking about relate specifically to Kmart. There are other truck movements from the other permitted business on the site. Yeah.
So my follow-up is then, if it's 2 a day now, how many of that, and we heard from Mr. Warwick that they've 60 emails with breaches, how many movements are going over the 2 a day?
So again, all we can control under the consent is the truck movements to Kmart. So we can't control the truck movements to the permitted activity on the site.
Mayor Barry.
Happy to take this question offline if you'd rather not answer it here, but just wondering if there is more to play of other issues on site that maybe are aggravating residents, and as kind of Councillor Stallinger observed, 2 movements is quite low, but if that is in conjunction with a whole heap of other problems, then I could understand maybe where the residents are coming from.
Yeah, so I can comment because I came out in the public meeting. This has come out in the open, and I think it's the vehicle movements is one issue, but it's really how the servicing is taking place. So as you know, Kmart is open till midnight, so people leave work. They'll say, see you later, and they'll bang their car doors and make noise when they leave. It's also when the trucks are being unloaded, it's the beeping of forklifts. So it really is more about the overall servicing arrangements of that. I think it's a good point, and it's been stated that it's not necessarily just the public, the truck movements, it's about all of the servicing arrangements. So what Kmart are proposing to come to us with is a change of condition, but to also with that change of condition is to bring in a stronger servicing plan, so that things like noise at night, unloading, that when you're slamming bins, all of that is all covered by a management plan. So as I said, we will wait and get that application and see what it says. And Kmart have given a commitment to also discuss those changes with the neighbours before or when that application comes in.
Does the Environment Court still have how quickly can this thing be dealt with? Is there still a big backlog of?
So Kmart have appealed the abatement notice on the grounds that they do not believe that the consent limits them to these truck movements. I'm getting into a lot of details now, but effectively what Kmart have said is, well, we can argue the point in court about the abatement notice, or effectively what they want to do is actually get this resolved so that it's workable for them, and the way to do that is through this 127, the new application. And the Environment Court have put a deadline on them, which I think is the 27th of July, whereby they have to have this new application lodged. But at the moment, the abatement notice, even though it's appealed, is in force, and Kmart are, as I said, largely complying with it, apart from a very occasional issue with a waste truck. Yeah.
Thanks, Tim. Mayor Barry.
One last question, and I know we're getting right into the detail here. Management plans, are they enforceable?
Yes, they are. Yep.
Okay, great. Okay, yep.
Councillor Dyer?
Yeah, I had a question on the earthquake-prone buildings that talks about the administrative error with the misreporting of some buildings for some time. Is this just a misreporting to this committee through this report, or is there an issue that residents didn't know they were on the register? Just a bit more clarity around that misrepresentation.
Yeah, sorry, I should have been clearer. It's a misreporting to this committee. Yeah, there was just how the numbers were being pulled out of the MB register. I guess a lack of understanding in the team. And so we've looked at that and identified that, and we're doing now a thorough review to make sure that there's no issues going forwards.
Okay, no further questions? I'll move the report. We note the report and receive it. Seconder? Councillor Dyer, any further comment? Move that. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Declare it carried. Thank you. Economy and Development Director's Report, page 99 of the agenda. I think we've got Paul speaking to this one. John's on leave. And maybe Eddie is online. Yes, Eddie's online. Should there be a need to ask him a question? Paul, anything in addition to this report we need to know?
No, thank you, Chair. We take the report as read.
Thank you. Councillors would have received an email. There's some questions asked yesterday at Climate and Resilience about Locky Docks. They've been covered very fully by Paul in a good email. But are there any other questions to do with this report? Deputy Mayor Lewis?
Just some thinking around this bullet point 3, right through the traffic management guidelines, is it? Temporary traffic. Are you taking input from that, from all the past incidences we've had with council and the experiences, that the community has had? See if it's, to get something that's flexible for everybody.
Through the Chair, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yes, I mean, with the traffic management, we're always going to be looking on almost a case-by-case basis and all the interactions that a particular site would have. But the team are often cognizant of what's happened in the past, and I mean, one of the big changes we'll be having is moving away from a very prescriptive approach to traffic management to really being able to look at what's going to work best in a particular scenario in light of the works that have been undertaken to mitigate all the risks.
Thank you. Sounds like common sense. That's great. And I know with the Locky Dock report that we saw in the other day's meeting, there was information saying that there was advertising potential for some of them. And I know there's locations in Petone, and I was just wondered if you could perhaps take it to the community board before it goes in on the beach down there, please.
Yeah, again, through the Chair. The Petone site is proving a little bit difficult to find a site that actually works in terms of power connections and so forth. There are two funding models that have been used for Locky Docks. One of them is the advertising model, where all the maintenance of the Locky Docks is covered through the advertising revenue. The other means is through an MB-funded, the Remataka Great Rides project. That one doesn't have the advertising, and in the case of Petone, we do have restrictions on any advertising along the foreshore there. So the Locky Dock plan for Petone is the non-advertising version funded through the MB project.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I did wonder if you knew that bylaw. Thank you.
Can I just say, although there's questions about these Locky Docks, what a great step forward this is. This is the Rolls Royce of secure parking for bikes, and it's really good that we've got five more of them. So congratulations to officers for their part in that. But my question, and it was one that was asked at the Hutt Cycling Network meeting the other day, they're very interested in or we're now calling it the micro mobility review, and they're hoping to be engaged, and I'm sure they will be. Their question was around earlier reports that have been done on this issue, that they kept saying the Jacobson report, and they mentioned a couple of others. There was to be fair, there was some scepticism about why we needed another one, and I did my best to explain why. But just assurance from you, Paul, that we're aware of all the earlier reports and they're being built into this. We're not repeating stuff. They're being built into this review.
Thank you, Chair. I hope we're not going to be repeating stuff, and it will be built in. The team have gone through a number of previous reports that have been produced. They've had a good sort of, basically, it's why it's taken a bit longer than we would have liked to get to a point where we are, to get that information that has been pulled out previously, read those reports and understand what they've said and how they're working in the current context. So the next steps will be a councillor briefing on where we're at with the review, and then going out further to do more consultation to find out how all the cycleways, shared paths and other micromobility links can best be linked in.
Amy Lewis.
Another question on bullet point 17, the footpath renewals. I'm just confused about this one. It wasn't in the paper for Parks and Reserves meeting and Councillor Brown's committee, but the Korokoro Singers Road walkway renewal, I thought it was part of Parks and Reserves, and I see it here in this program. Thank you. Just confused about where it belongs.
It is a transport or highways asset, that footpath. The reasons why I couldn't tell you.
Okay, no further questions. Oh, no, Councillor Mitchell.
Sorry, just in terms of coming back to the strategic cycleway review, and there's the talks in there about a draft web-based map of the existing network, as well as projects under construction, and so on, how that map is intended to prompt quality discussions with stakeholders. Will that map also be published, or is there a similar map already published on our website of where cycleways are? And I'm just asking because, again, in yesterday's climate meeting, there was talk of another map, which is a map of bicycle parking. And I think, if we combined all these things and gave cyclists a really clear picture of how to get from A to B in the city and what's there when you arrive there, it would be really useful. So is there an intention to combine these things and have them available on our website?
Through the Chair, yeah, that's a really good idea to combine those kind of maps together. The strategic one is for the cycleway shared path micromobility network is in draft at the moment. That will be taken through several iterations until we complete the strategy piece. But yes, absolutely, once that's finalised, we could combine a lot of those into one mapping piece.
Excellent. That'd be a very useful thing to have. I move that this committee receives and notes the information in this report. Looking for a seconder. Councillor Stellinger. Any further comment? Mayor Barry.
I do have to mention, given you described our bike lock stands as Rolls Royce, so lost on not lost on me comparing it to cars, and also expensive car. But no. So no, but I just want to say on that, because obviously it's not on the report and anyone listening wouldn't be able to see, but I think it is a really great outcome. I think it's obviously Lockheed Dock's been able to continue with the setup of the bike stands. And also the ongoing costs, and us just being able to obviously cover the electricity, I think is a really positive partnership. And just wanted to acknowledge the work that's happened on that. It's been talked about for some time, I've got to say, but great to be able to get that in place. So well done, Paul. Yep.
Yes, so that is great news. I also want to thank the officers and congratulate them for the progress on Te Puhoronuku. I just note it's over 2/3 complete, 67 point something %. So I kind of count that as a bit of a milestone there in itself, given it's such an extensive project and it's going to add so much to the resilience and amenity of the transportation around the bays. And also just to reflect on the good news regarding temporary traffic management, improvements to safety and cost there. I know it's a kind of a common cause of complaint by those who observe, and maybe even some of them count the number of cones and send us emails about it. And I'm normally not in a position to comment, are there too many or are they all needed or so on. But just to hear that there's going to be some improvement. I think that's good news we can respond with if we this kind of criticism in the past, in the future. So thanks again.
Okay, I put that recommendation. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Declare it carried. The forward program on page 106 of the agenda. I'll move that the committee receives and notes that forward program attached as Appendix 1. Seconder. Councillor Mitchell, comment. Put that recommendation. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Declare that carried. Thank you. Questions? I have received no questions. So we'll move to their closing karakia. Please join with me. Unuhia, unuhia, unuhia i te uru tapanui, kia wātia, kia mama, te nākau, te tinana, te wairua i te ara takatū. Koiara i rango whakairihia aki ki runga, kia wātia, ai rā, kua wātia, hau pai marere. I declare this meeting closed at